school. And my MP said yes.
My sister said she needed help to find a job, so my MP created a job fair.
Our outfit said we needed better sporting facilities.
A new early childhood development center.
My neighbors said.
My sister said.
The children said.
The community said.
Roads and a new park. And my MP said.
Yes.
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 Of course.
Nous tous c'est famille en mi coup de nord. Et nous continuons pour faire progrès avec Antigua.
Okay, Mike, 1, 2, right, yeah.
What separates us is our ability to recognize your needs and to work towards addressing them. Providing opportunities, dreaming big, and delivering bigger. What separates us is passionate representation, meticulous guarding of our social and economic indicators, and working with and for you during the most trying time in recorded history. What separates us is a cabinet guided by God for the protection, progress, and prosperity of our St. Lucia. The United Workers' Party. Let's keep working.
United Workers' Party came to office on June 6, 2016. Since then, the UWP has delivered a suite of policy initiatives aimed at building a new St. Lucia. 5 years later, the UWP is returning to you, the people, to continue this process and enter phase 2 of building a new St. Lucia. It is absolute that leadership matters. And, as seen here tonight, the UWP not only has strong leadership, but proven leaders as well. The UWP has a capable team with a clear direction of where this country needs to be in order to claim its place globally. There is a sense of urgency in this country that the UWP has responded to through our mission, vision, and values. The United Workers' Party has a plan. Flambeau is working on yours, on our behalf to secure the future. You must invest in this solid, sustainable plan. St. Lucia, Mamai Flambeau, let's keep working. In the house, Thank you for joining us and welcome to the Flambeau Forum. We are live on DBS, Hot 7 TV, GVD, Sky Radio, and UTV 124. I am Sabina Valmont, the host for this Flambeau Forum, where we will be breaking down the work already done, the successes of the UWP government, and what is to be done in building a new St. Lucia. Pulling back the layers with me are key members of the workers' team. Prime Minister, political leader, and MP for Micoud South, AllenChastanet. Deputy political leader, MP for Babono, Ezekiel Joseph. MP for Micoud North, Dr. Gail T.C. Rigobert, or as we call her, Auntie Gail. And MP for Castries Southeast, our guy Joseph. We will be delving into the history of the UWP and its journey to the 2016 victory, reflecting on building a new St. Lucia at the level of the ministries and nationally in the areas of education, infrastructure, agriculture, and economic development. In the second half of the Flambeau Forum, we will discuss employment, technology, climate change, and building resilience as a nation and the management of the pandemic. And in our closing moments, we will speak to phase 2 of building a new St. Lucia. I now invite our deputy political leader, Ezekiel Easy Does It Joseph, to set the pace and to declare the Flambeau Forum officially open.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator, and I want to say good, Honorable Prime Minister and my other colleagues, good evening, and of course to our listening public, good evening and welcome to our first in the series of Flambeau Forum. It's really a pleasure for us to be here today. I'm sure all of us here would agree. 5 years ago, today we were elected to provide and to build a new St. Lucia. And I'm sure the majority of St. Lucians would agree that under the leadership of Honorable AllenChastanet and his team, we have been able to build a new St. Lucia despite the many challenges that we face as a government. I am very encouraged. I must say that I am happy to be working with a leader and a team that understands and appreciates the job that we have to do. And of course, we have been able to do it with limited resources. As it pertains to the Ministry of Agriculture, and I'm sure persons who want to know what we have accomplished as it pertains to WASCO, and of course, I'm sure, Madam Moderator, you'd allow me to spend some time to speak to my constituency. I want to say that we have to evaluate what we promised and what we were able to accomplish. What did we promise? A few things that we promised in our 2016 manifesto. One, we said that we were going to facilitate a social safety net for our aging farmers. We also said that there is need for us to look at new marketing arrangements and to restructure some of the major marketing institutions in St. Lucia. We also spoke about youth in agriculture, because all of us here would agree that the age of our farmers, there's need for us to encourage more young persons to get involved in agriculture. And of course, that was one of the promises we made, to see how we can encourage young persons in agriculture. Of course, to introduce new technology into the agriculture. That's important, because we believe that agriculture is too traditional. Important for us, and we have said so before, and the Honorable Prime Minister have always said so, the question of the banana industry is critical for us as a country, and the United States Party make no excuse as to what we have been able to do and what we intend to do as it pertains to the banana industry. We believe that there is need to make agriculture more attractive, and we said so in our manifesto. How are we going to make agriculture more attractive so at least we can encourage more young persons and persons who are interested in coming to agriculture? We also spoke about the aspect of adaptable technology, and we spoke about the fisheries, and the livestock subsector. I must say that despite the challenges, we were able to accomplish a lot, and I'm sure within tonight, as we continue the discussion, we should be able to elaborate as to what we were able to accomplish, and of course what the challenges are, and how we can move forward, continuing the journey that we have started. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Deputy Political Leader. I would like to thank you for opening the Flambeau Forum, and I must say that we are very, very excited, especially about the youthing of agriculture, and ensuring that we can make agriculture attractive to more people across the country, so that they can see it as a way of not just earning a living, but raising the standard of living for their families. So once again, thank you for opening the Flambeau Forum. We are now due for a commercial break. Stay with us for my Flambeau. We are very, very happy that you're with us this evening. We will be right back.
What separates us is our ability to recognize your needs and to work towards addressing them. Providing opportunities, dreaming big, and delivering bigger. What separates us is passionate representation, meticulous guarding of our social and economic indicators, and working with and for you during the most trying time in recorded history. What separates us is a cabinet guided by God for the protection, progress, and prosperity of our St. Lucia. The United Workers' Party. Let's keep working.
With us. Before we went on break, we heard from our MP for Barbono, who opened our Flambeau Forum. Now, as we continue to discuss the work involved in building a new St. Lucia, let me introduce our next speaker, who will speak on one of the most critical components in building new St. Lucia, and I'm speaking of education. Mamai Miku, you're now in the house. Let's welcome the nation's anti-Gail, Dr. Gail T.C. Rigobert, Minister for Education, Innovation, Gender Relations and Sustainable Development, who is MP for Micoud North. Welcome, Auntie Gail.
Thank you, Sabi. Thank you very much.
So I have two questions for you, Auntie Gail. The first one, tell us what your tenure has been like, and how has your ministry lived up to the mandate of building a new St. Lucia?
Thank you so much. Permit me, Sabi, to acknowledge Prime Minister AllenChastanet, my colleague, Deputy Political Leader Ezekiel Easy Joseph, and of course the man himself, Guy Joseph. I work with a fantastic team of men and women, and I must say what a pleasure it is. And indeed, I am here because the people of Micoud North have afforded me this opportunity and this privilege. So I really want to extend my thanks to them. And of course, we're here celebrating our anniversary because the people of St. Lucia decided 5 years ago that they believed in our commitment and our promise to build a new St. Lucia. And as fate would have it, I landed the fantastic portfolio of education, which everyone will appreciate is the bedrock of any country. And it's through education we're able to correct some of the broken pieces in our society, some of the things that needed tweaking, or should I use Prime Minister's language when he assigned me as a Minister for Education and said to me, I need a revolution in that sector. And I don't know why, but he chose me. And of course, we have done just that. We had to because we inherited a sector that we have shown was so broken literally and figuratively. The schools were literally broken. We had termites falling in the hair of teachers and students, in the lunch boxes of children, that the restrooms were not suitable for use, that we would not want to go in there. So why would we expect our nation's children to use restrooms in that condition? I want to thank you, Prime Minister. I want to thank you, colleagues, for agreeing with me that what we inherited, which was shy of $1 million allocation by the former administration, that was woefully inadequate, and we made education a priority. Not just the infrastructural adjustment and rehabilitation that was necessary, but also the training of teachers. Because if we are to build a new St. Lucia, and we speak of resilience, as Prime Minister likes to say, resilience in a holistic way. We speak of financial and fiscal resilience. We speak of climate resilience, resilience in the various economic sectors, such as agriculture, resilience in terms of climate resilience, but human capital resilience. Are our people adequately trained not only to serve this country, but should they find themselves in any other part of the world, can they hold their own? And now we can say with some degree of assurance that they can, especially given what we've done in the past 5 years. It was no small feat, Sabi, that we were able to breathe meaning into a commitment we made in our manifesto, that we would infuse information, communication, technology into the learning and teaching experience of our students and teachers on island. And we did that well before COVID had introduced a new urgency. And I must thank the educators, the teachers, the ancillary staff, all of the people who made it possible not only to respond to what COVID had imposed upon us, but thankfully because of the team we have at CAMDU, thankfully because of the commitment of educators, thankfully because they agreed with the vision that technology was critical to what we were offering as an education product, that we were well on our way when COVID introduced a new urgency. I also must say that what we have done in partnership with international and regional agencies, the Global Partnership for Education, they've pumped millions into the education sector for training. The Commonwealth of Learning, similarly, especially with respect to training our educators in the use of technology. The OAS and the Pro Futuro project. All these things are well represented across the country in the various geographic points in this country. No school being left behind, no geographic location being left behind, that we're able to address the urban-rural digital divide. That in the same way schools in Castries, your Babino School or your Lagos School, or Patricia D. James or Camille Henry have access to technology, that so too do the schools in Soufrière. You go to Itang, you go to Miko, you go to Blanchard, the same right is afforded every child. And when we speak of resilience, I must also say that what we have done with respect to accommodating every child. That's why we speak of multiple intelligences. Hence our investment in technical vocational education and training, and recognizing people's giftedness quite apart from the traditional subjects that we did when we were in school. And very importantly, that's what we're doing for our special ed in Vieux-Fort. We are redesigning that school so it is a 21st century outfit for our citizens who are differently abled. What we are doing at the Donatus School, again, a school that houses our students who are differently abled. They too are citizens, and they too have a right to the best education that we can offer. I thank you, Sabi, for allowing me to make reference to those initial efforts on our part. I know that the rest of St. Lucia will join with us in acknowledging and agreeing that we need to continue on the fantastic work we have started.
Thank you so much, Auntie Gail. Thank you, thank you. Mamai Miku, I know that you must all be proud of your Auntie Gail tonight, because in her opening remarks, she made reference to Prime Minister's description of what we were looking for in education, a revolution in the education sector. And for me, and I know for a lot of parents who are struggling with children who are differently abled, these are the policy initiatives that work.
Assistance in the cleaning of the area, and Mr. Bertram came through for us for the cleanup campaign, and we like to actually continue that little process and thank him for contributing in the little committee for the little workers and everybody around the area. But we thank you for coming through for that little cleanup campaign, and we wish we could continue that process. We've been requiring a little assistance in the cleaning of the area, and Mr. Bertram came through for us for the cleanup campaign, and we like to actually continue that little process and thank him for contributing in the little committee for the little workers and everybody around the area. But we thank you for coming through for that little cleanup campaign, and we wish we could continue that process.
What we are engaged with this morning is that a group of us have decided to come together to do some cleanup in the Massad area, and this is all in an effort to keep our environment clean and to ensure that the place aesthetically looks beautiful, is kept clean, and at the same time we are hoping that people will see our efforts and begin to develop more of a consciousness about keeping the environment clean. Let us not forget, when we dispose of our garbage indiscriminately, you clog drains. Also, it pollutes our ocean, because much of the debris, much of the garbage ends up in the sea. And so generally speaking, I think it's in our best interest to have our community, our environment kept as pristine as possible.
Flambeau, welcome to our Flambeau Forum. You were tuned in. I'm happy that you kept everything going as it was before we went on break, where we've seen the demonstration of strong leadership in getting our country over major hurdles. And we heard Auntie Gail concerning the hurdles that we face as a nation in education. As we build a new St. Lucia, we need a solid development plan, and we need a strong will to oversee that plan. We need our Guy. Yes, we need Guy Joseph, MP for Castries South and Minister for Economic Development, Housing, Urban Renewal, Transportation, and Civil Aviation. Welcome, Guy. And to start you off, I would ask you to reflect on the journey of the past 5 years and to tell us how your ministry has lived up to the mandate of building a new St. Lucia. Welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. Bonsoir, Mama Flambeau. This is the Flambeau Forum, and I am happy to be part of the team addressing you tonight. I want to congratulate all supporters of the United Workers' Party as we celebrate 5 years ago the victory of the United Workers' Party. We are who we are. St. Lucia is what it is today because of you, the supporters of the United Workers' Party. And for this, we are thankful. We are grateful that you have stayed on this journey with us. And as we seek to continue building a new St. Lucia, we know we can count on you. I want to applaud and congratulate my supporters, especially in Castries Southeast. You have elected me to represent your interests. And under the able leadership of our Prime Minister, we are well on course to achieving the task that you have mandated us to do in building a new St. Lucia, because you elected us on this basis. As I reflect on my ministry, the Ministry of Economic Development, and what is required in building a new St. Lucia, I want to first of all state that any government who is serious about development of this country must have a plan. And this is what we have in this party. We have a plan. And we have started rolling out this plan. Also, it is not just this UWP government that has had a plan. Other UWP governments before this one had a plan. And I can take you back to 1978, between 77 and 78, when Sir John was Premier of St. Lucia. There was a development plan. I want the members on the other side to tell you where the development plan is. If you've ever seen, coming into government, we did the short-term development strategy or the medium-term development strategy for St. Lucia. This was done within a couple years of this government being elected into office. Now, our plans were clearly stipulated in our manifesto for the 2016 elections. We promised you that we would be building a prosperous and progressive St. Lucia. The idea was not to build a better St. Lucia, but to build a new St. Lucia. Because if the road has potholes and you've patched it, even though it's bumpy, the road is better. But if you build a new road, then you're on track to building a new St. Lucia. And you heard the Minister of Education. You heard the Minister of Agriculture. What has been happening? So, as far as what we inherited and what we are doing today, you have 5 years to evaluate. And I have said to the people of St. Lucia, compare our 5 years with the last 15 years of the St. Lucia Labour Party. And I bet with anybody that we would have outperformed the Labour Party in one term, 15 years in government, which is 3 terms. Now, that is what, when you have able leadership, when you have leadership that is proven, that has a track record of success, no organization would ever rise above its leader. The leaders become the benchmark for which the organization, how far it would come up. And that is why I know that the leadership we have in the United Workers' Party today is the leadership not just for today, but for the future, because there is a clear plan. He had a vision to put ministries together so that the synergies that were required for delivering the projects and the development that was required was in place. The Ministry of Economic Development over the years had almost been a bastard child under the Ministry of Finance. In the visionary leadership of our Prime Minister, he saw it fit to put economic development as a standalone ministry, because for this country to fully meet its potential, economic development must be at the forefront. We manage projects like the CDP, and you would see in the past, CDP was branded as a T-Canal project, criticized by the previous government, but when they came in, they saw the value of the T-Canal. But you see, they can never grow out of where they are. They can only stay where they are. What we did was we realized that T-Canal had met most of its objectives. So what did we do? We initiated new programs. We engaged the Taiwanese government. We initiated programs like the Sports Development Program in St. Lucia for new facilities, fully funded by grant funding from the Taiwanese government. And you go around St. Lucia today, you see the mini stadium in Soufrière. You see in Dennery South. You see in Micoud North, Micoud South. You see the development of sporting facilities second to none. It's international in the standards that we have set. We did not stop there. We went into the program of village tourism, because we are talking about empowering the people economically, so that these projects now would bring in returns. And we have seen what's happening in ancillary canneries, what's happening in Grosily, Soufrière. And the plan in building a new St. Lucia moving forward is that you would see more and more of these projects being rolled out. DVRP, millions of dollars available for projects to build resilience in this country. The Labour Party sat for 5 years and could not spend money. As we speak, Mr. Prime Minister, we are requesting an additional $9 million US from the World Bank to continue, because after we've used everything that is there, we have identified more projects that need to be rolled out in building a new St. Lucia. That is what it is all about. We found St. Jude Hospital. They were trying to do something. Again, no plan. That's why I tell you, you must have a plan. If you have no plan, then they say you have planned to fail already. So, we have a plan. We did not try to make a makeshift hospital for the people. We decided that based on what we inherited, that there was no plan for, and we could not bring it to be what the people of Vieux-Fort deserved, we decided, let us build a new St. Jude Hospital. Not just a better hospital, but a new hospital for the people of the South. So I want to maybe curtail my presentation at this point in time to say that this Flambeau government, under this Flambeau leader, has a plan, not just for today, but a plan for the future, and we will continue to roll out this plan as soon as the election is called.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Our guy, MP for Castries Southeast, very energized presentation this evening always shows up with what we always expect. He always pulls a rabbit out of the hat. You know, he did not disappoint us tonight. So if we have to just recap, you know, very quickly what Minister Joseph has just shared with us, that the United Workers' Party has a plan, has always had a plan. From way back, as far back as 1978, when Sir John was Premier of St. Lucia, we saw the evidence is right there that this United Workers' Party has always had a plan. And the only difference now is that the plan is to build a new St. Lucia, to make sure that whatever we are building is fit for the time that we are in, that we are not building something that we needed 10 years ago or we needed 20 years ago. We are building what we will be able to use 10, 20, and 30 years to come. So that is what is most important about this United Workers' Party and the plan that we have for building a new St. Lucia. We can go back to our MP for Babono, speaking about youth in agriculture and all the exciting developments that are happening in agriculture. We want people to know that agriculture is an area that you should be investing in, that you should be looking into as a way of ensuring that you are creating livelihoods for your family. Auntie Gail, Mikud North, education, revolution in education, ensuring that all of our children across the length and breadth of this country has access to the very same thing across the board. That even if you are in a rural community or in an urban community, you still have access to the same things. And that is what we mean when we say equity in education. Now I am very, very, very pleased because we are now moving on to our political leader, Prime Minister of St. Lucia, who is now going to join the discussion and infuse what we expect, what he always brings to the table, what all of us are always waiting to hear, this plan for building a new St. Lucia from our leader himself. Welcome, Prime Minister.
Thank you very much, Savvy. To all the viewers and my Flambeau, and particularly my supporters in Miku South. Thank you very much. I'm sorry I was not with you today, but we are here to celebrate the 5th anniversary of our victory. We say it's when St. Lucia made a very clear distinction between two political parties and gave us a mandate to go out and build a new St. Lucia. And we always wave the manifesto because that manifesto is a referendum. It is a document that we won the victory by over 8,000 votes. We had 43,000 St. Lucians who stood up June 6 in 2016 and said, yes, I'm not happy with the mediocrity in my country. I am not happy with the fake and false promises that have been made in the past. And I genuinely believe in the men and women of United Workers' Party to deliver. And that delivery really started while we were in opposition. Before you can ever move forward, you have to understand your past. And that's what we did. We reflected on the time of Sir John up until 1997. We talked about our attempt to regain the confidence of the people in St. Lucia, which we did in 2006. And we lost that mandate in 2011. And we had to understand and dig deep in ourselves to say, why? What did we do wrong? How do we fix this? You must account for any deficiencies and any failings that you have in order to move forward. And we spent a collective period, over 100 members of this party, to think about what is it we needed to do moving forward. We also understood that there was no way that you could deliver in one term everything that we had to do. And we made it very clear from the beginning that at minimum we needed 10 years to solidify the changes that were required in St. Lucia. It's very easy sometimes to lose sight of why. And that's what I'm so proud to be with these men and these women who make up a great team. All of us in our own way understood the failings of our country. We understood the pain that many of our own constituents were suffering. When you go house to house and you see still the conditions in which people were living in. So much so that a lot of persons, have had to go and squat on government land in order to be able to have a home. But because they've done that, can't get water and electricity, can't go to the bank. So it means that you're spending money to fix up a home in which the value of it, you can't monetize it with the banks. The persons that were sick and were struggling because they already had debt accumulated at the hospital. And so didn't feel comfortable going to the hospital. Were scared to go to the doctor because if the doctor gave them a prescription, they wouldn't be able to afford it. We have a vulnerability list of 2,200 people, Sabi. 2,200 people. Is it because that there's only 2,200 people that are poor in this country? No. It was because that's what we could afford. And when we came in, it was $150 a month. We've raised it to $215. And $215 is not enough. Schools, as Gail was saying, $1.5 million a year. 133 schools. So you're talking about some schools were getting 8,000 EC dollars a year to maintain the school. School year is beginning. You're telling me that people didn't go around and see the state of the school? And that's where our children were going. How could you not feel like there was prejudice in our system? That there were some schools that seemed to be getting more than others. That you met students who were doing a better job of educating themselves online and were bored at the school because their own capacity was further than the curriculum and the practical need to be able to get a job. I mean, I don't know how former governments could not have seen what was going on at Sir Arthur. The library abandoned, classrooms abandoned, and no money was being made available. And people in St. Lucia chose to go a different path on June 6, 2016, because the government then was saying to the people, something happened. Could no longer even get money to borrow. We're going to the civil servants to ask well, I wouldn't say ask the civil servants. They simply went to Parliament to pass the bill, which included a 5% pay cut, no consultation. But as Guy said, it's not about just doing things better, because we argued that word. Words matter. We said better is not where this country needs to go. We have to build a new St. Lucia. We said we need to build a quality, affordable healthcare system. When we came in, as you know, St. Jude's was not finished, and we had not moved into St. Jude's. OKEU had supposedly been finished, but for whatever reason, they did not move in. Healthcare centers had not been fixed. So even though that there was a plan that was done that said that healthcare had to be, primary healthcare had to be boosted up in order to reduce the number of people that were coming into the main hospital. That plan had not even begun. When we came in terms of security, the courts were closed, no DPP, no marine boats. The police did not have ammunition to go and practice to do on the firearm range. The forensic lab was closed. So, in order for us to maintain the idea of being the preferred political party, a focus on education, not just about reading and writing, but an education system that was globally competitive, that we can compete against foreigners coming to St. Lucia, but St. Lucians who want to migrate would have gotten an education system here that would allow them to do that on a global basis. And economic opportunity. Why are those things important? Because those things speak to the quality of life of people, and that there's a sense of equity. And just because you're unemployed, just because you're not economically privileged, you should not be denied those services. But Sabi, it was difficult. And we knew it was going to be difficult going in. And part of that problem was that there was no money. Nobody was willing to lend any money to St. Lucia. Nobody feels sorry for St. Lucia. There was no person out there, despite the fact that the Labour Party tried to get a billionaire and make him an ambassador in hopes that he was going to solve their problems. We all know how that story ended. We have to solve the problems ourselves. And that's why we introduced two taxes, the airport tax and a gas tax. But at the same time, we reduced the VAT rate. Because you remember the argument was we would not be able to reduce the VAT rate. We did it. We eliminated the debt that people had at the hospitals. We eliminated property tax for 5 years. We increased the subsidies for the school feeding program and for the bus transportation program. Why? Because we said that while we're building a new St. Lucia, we must do things to help the more vulnerable persons in our society. Every day at Cabinet, that is what the discussion is. How are these policies going to affect the most vulnerable, but at the same time create the greatest amount of opportunity for our country? Things like the NAP program. So you had a nice program before that was paying 1,000 people $1,500 a month. The same 1,000 people for the 3 years. Nobody fired the nice workers. That was the period of contract. And what they said was that they were paying their salaries in hopes that they would be able to continue their jobs. But what did they do? 80% of those persons were working in the government and bypassed the Public Service Commission. So it means that the Prime Minister's office was the person that was actually hiring all these people. Whereas when we created the NAP program, the National Apprentice Program, we subsidized the salaries of the young people who went to Ojo Labs. We paid $1,000 for their salary for the first 6 months. We then paid another $500 a month for the next year. But meanwhile, they were getting a salary of $2,500. Some of them are getting a salary up to $4,000. Nobody wanted to invest in Viewfort. You know that. You couldn't convince any call center or any serious manufacturing company to go into Viewfort. So that was the incentive. Now all those people's salaries are being paid by the company. But most importantly, we didn't pay the company, we paid the workers. The money was St. Lucian money to help our workers, not to subsidize the business, but to encourage them to. And what happened? ITEL BPO came up during COVID, enthusiastic about what they saw taking place in Viewfort, and now 1,100 additional people. Between Ojo Labs and ITEL BPO, you have almost $4 million a month in salaries being paid. So here it is, we're talking about economics, but the fundamentals of the economics are to create opportunities for people to improve their lives. During the campaign, Sabi, we had a saying, or I had a saying, ching, ching, ching. And that is fundamental. Now that Ezekiel has made water available in the 2 deaneries, we're now making water available in Viewfort and Labrie, in my own constituency, in Micoud. the expansion of the water system up north. What does that mean, and how does that relate to Ching Ching Ching? Persons no longer had to buy water tanks. That's cost savings. Persons didn't have to pay for a water truck during the drought because they have water available. That's Ching Ching Ching. When people say that you cannot eat a road, but guess what? When you have a car and you have to spend less money maintaining, the money you're saving is what you can eat from. Every program that we have comes back down to how do we improve the quality of life of the people in this country. And I want to say the solutions. That passion, that obsession, that urgency has never been lost. But maybe sometimes it's misunderstood because you have to deal with the practicality of government. There are things that we've been doing with institutions, whether it's legislation, reorganization, bailing them out, NFTO, marketing board. All these agencies were broke. I mean, the NFTO it's such a horrific situation. And the whole issue with Windfresh, where monies were being siphoned off from Windfresh to invest in losing projects. And money that was earning in Windfresh was now being siphoned to be able to prop up these businesses. And going away from what the focus was, which was not only, in my mind, should have been just about bananas, but also about growing everything else. So I want to say to you, Sabi, that I am so proud of the people we had and the ability of us putting a plan together, as Guy has pointed out, and creating a synergy of ministries to execute, because we did not have the benefit and do not have the benefit to fix one sector at a time. We're having to fix multiple sectors. And I guess later we can talk about now COVID, because we made a promise that we were going to bring unemployment from 25% to 15%. Pre-COVID, we've got it to 16, with 1 year to go. We talked about that we were going to have an aggregate growth rate in our economy of 12%. By the 2019, we were at 11%, and we were poised to break that number. And these are important numbers that reflect what we're doing for the people of this country. How many more people, thousands of people, had jobs? Youth unemployment went from 44% to 30%. And even during this COVID period, the unemployment went up to a high of 21%. And we now see, with the opening of the hotels, the record numbers of arrivals that we're already getting, and the new protocols that we have that allow some of the small businesses to reopen, we're seeing the economy come back.
Thank you so much, our political leader. Thank you. We have now come to the end of the first segment of our Flambeau Forum. Thank you so much, Mamai Flambeau, for staying with us. And just to wrap up what has transpired during the first part of our Flambeau Forum, what we are listening to tonight is that we had a country that was broken, and we have a team of men and women, a team of leaders who have remained committed to fixing all of the problems that were inherited from the previous administration. We had a country where we needed to see improvement in the quality of life of our people, and that is what we have seen over the course of the past 5 years. So once again, I would like to thank you for staying with us. We are due for a commercial break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
My MP said Dennery South deserved a world-class sporting facility.
And we said, thanks. He also said our perennial flooding issue had to be solved.
My MP ensured us of new roads, and most of the workers came from Dennery. An equitable distribution of e-learning devices. My MP.
One who looks out for the most vulnerable amongst us.
My MP is tried, trusted, tested, and reliable.
We say thank you.
Denry South, let's keep working.
My MP said that we would have a new wellness center. Here we are. It's almost finished.
My community said we needed a new wing to our secondary school. And my MP said yes.
My sister said she needed help to find a job, so my MP created a job fair.
Our athlete said we needed better sporting facilities.
A new early childhood development center.
My neighbors said.
My sister said.
The children said.
Community said.
Road and a new park. And my MP said.
Yes.
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 Of course.
Nous tous, c'est yon famille en mi could nod. And nous continuer pour faire progrès avec Antigua.
Trying a little assistance in the cleaning of the area, and Mr. Bushram came through for us because the cleanup campaign, and we like to actually continue the process and thank him for contributing in the little community for the little workers and everybody around the area. But we thank you for coming through for that little cleanup campaign, and we wish we could continue that process.
What we are engaged with this morning is that a group of us have decided to come together to do some cleanup in the Masad area, and this is all in an effort to keep our environment clean and to ensure that the place aesthetically looks beautiful, is kept clean, and at the same time we are hoping that people will see our efforts and begin to develop more of a consciousness about keeping their environment clean. Let us not forget, when we dispose of our garbage indiscriminately, you clog drains. Also, it pollutes our ocean because much of the debris, much of the garbage ends up in the sea. And so generally speaking, I think it's in our best interest to have our community, our environment kept as pristine as possible.
Welcome back, Mamai Flambeau. We are at our Flambeau Forum, and we are now in the second part of our discourse. During this part of the forum, we're going to be focusing on a word that, we've become very familiar with over the years, and that word is resilience. We spoke of resilience in the past when it came to natural disasters. Now with this pandemic, we are speaking about resilience in the healthcare sector. We also have to be concerned about financial resilience. How is it that we are able to keep moving, to keep doing what we are supposed to be doing, no matter what's being thrown at us, whether it's a pandemic, whether it's an economic downturn, we have to keep moving. And so, to open the discourse, I'm going to ask Auntie Gail to share with us what it means, especially with her ministry, resilience in education. Share with us what your ministry has been doing to ensure that we can keep this happening, Auntie Gail.
From where I sit, resilience means two things, precisely because of the two departments that I head. With respect to sustainable development, anytime we hear resilience, we speak of climate resilience. And my colleague, Guy Joseph, spoke very eloquently of how we have been able to operationalize, to use DVRP money to enhance and to build resilience. Now, I'll give you two examples. The Micoud Secondary School, the third form block was in a dilapidated condition. What did we do? We knocked down that block, and recognizing too that that school is also an emergency shelter, we were able to leverage climate financing through the funding provided by the World Bank and the DVRP program to rebuild a smart block incorporating the various components I spoke of a while ago. Resilience also means the renewable energy embrace, reducing...
Let me stop you for a minute. You said you have incorporated a smart block into the Micoud Secondary School. Can you share with us exactly what you mean by a smart block?
Thanks for that, Sabi. A smart block means that we've built a school facility, an educational facility that allows for us to maximize the use of technology, to leverage the use of renewable energy, and to reduce our reliance on fossil fuels. In other words, we're going to reduce our electricity bill over time and our dependence on petroleum and oil from overseas. Thirdly, that we've incorporated subjects that are in the new and emerging areas. For example, we speak of digital media, animation, robotics, things that this generation is excited about, the areas in which we know there are up-and-coming jobs, and very importantly as well, climate resilience, obvious, that is hurricane resilience. So, I think that block should be...
So, and let me stop you again. So, for our viewers at home, for our Mamai Flambeau, for the young kids who are sitting at home on those devices, listen to what Auntie Gail is saying. She's speaking to you right now that this smart block means that you will get the things that speak to you. So the games that you're always playing, you would be in a position as you grow older not to think, well, I have to get the same job that my mom or my dad is doing, but I can now get involved in jobs that are centered around the technology that I am now a part of. And this is the message I want to make sure that our young people are getting from Auntie Gail, that we are preparing this new St. Lucia for you. Not for ourselves. We are doing what we are doing, but we are preparing this new St. Lucia for you.
Absolutely. And one of the things we discovered when we offered free courses through Coursera and through what we're doing, the Sky program with the funding we got from the UK through Springboard, that we are supporting people who may have been displaced during COVID, especially those from the hospitality sector, although many of them are being reabsorbed. But in the interim, what we able to do was to afford them an opportunity to upskill or to retool, and many of them chose those digital areas so that they can work from home. And we know what many of the IT firms have said internationally, that they are already going to abandon the idea of offices, which means that your bedroom in St. Lucia can become your office, where you can earn a minimum of $4,000 US a month, because guess what, you have the know-how, that really you have technology at your fingertips. You're familiar with it. I know Prime Minister...
But it's about building a globally competitive education system.
Exactly.
And look, you know, what's amazing, right, Gail, is that we had this discussion all the way back in 2013 when we put this together. So we've not even envisaged COVID. COVID has only accelerated now a borderless country. So all these Fortune 500 companies that sent everybody home now have proven that people can work from home. So what's the difference between working from home in Seattle if in fact now the person could be employed in St. Lucia? Once the education system here is sufficient to bring them to that level, and the broadband width that we have, because I know you've been working, all of you have been working really hard on making that happen. But I mean, how many new smart schools do we have?
Well, Prime Minister, that's a very good question, because what we were forced to do, not because we knew that COVID was coming, but because we knew we wanted to build a globally competitive education. And what we mean by that as well is that the certification that you get here is portable. You can carry it with you wherever you go. It is recognized, it is deemed to be adequate, and you can function elsewhere. But very importantly, Prime Minister, one of the things that we tend to miss is how the other parts connect. So what we're able to do, for example, with the acts that we passed in Parliament with respect to accreditation. That's important in the policy side as well. So we've taught them the right thing. We ensure that there is a mechanism by which we can ensure that what we are doing is world standard, not only for the medical schools, but also for the other areas, as we did with the Human Capital Resilience Project that we're sharing with your ministry and Mr. Spider and Montout's ministry as well, to ensure that the TVET training is important, human resilience. And also, Prime Minister, I can't help but reflect on the number of hours we spent in this very building in opposition. Easy and I would have spoken till 3 in the morning. Well, there were other people there as well, right?
Be careful.
I think you were letting the cat out of the bag there.
Houston, we thought through the brokenness that we knew we were going to inherit. And in agriculture, what we have done at the Boseju plant, and thank you for choosing Miku North for the relocation of that Boseju farm in Wallet.
That's amazing. Yeah. And even the use of solar panels and even technology you're introducing in the lab. But what I was really impressed with, in terms of the 7-crop program, part of that is giving the farmers contracts that they know beforehand what they're going to sell. And the technology now to put monitors on in those farms where they're not updating on a regular basis, so the marketing board now knows whether, in fact, if I'm not mistaken, what the status of that's going to be.
But before we go into agriculture, I see you're going into agriculture. I want to share my view as it pertains to Gail and the whole aspect of resilience. I'm sure all of us here would agree that whilst it took some time for us to see the commencement of the new school in Lage, and that was a dream of mine since my first term. Unfortunately, I must say, when the Labour Party came into government, I say that without any doubt in my mind, they did not have any interest. And in fact, the leader of the opposition said that in Parliament when I spoke about the new school for Lage. They said that the Labour Party had no interest in building a new school for Lage. And you heard Honorable Gail spoke about we're not only concentrating in the urban areas, we're concentrating all around. And to my mind, Lage deserves a smart school. And I'm happy. I must say thank you very much, Honorable Gail, and of course Prime Minister, for at least sitting to my dream as far as building a new school in Lage. In addition to that, we heard how much money has been spent at the Babano Secondary School. When we came in, the Babano Secondary School was in a very dilapidated condition.
I couldn't believe
and the Prime Minister made a visit there. And we have spent more at the Babano Secondary School than the Labour Party would have allocated for a year for all schools in St. Lucia.
Isn't that amazing?
So I mean, we have to, according to Honorable Spider, we have to blow our trumpet.
Yes.
We have to blow our trumpet,
On the technology side and the resilience, as the Minister for Telecoms, what we have been doing is regulating from original the OECS perspective, ECTEL, Eastern Caribbean Telecommunications Regulatory Authority. We have common legislation. We have introduced the EC bill, that's the Electronic Communications Bill. Because what we have seen is with the move into technology, even our court system, accepting a lot of the things that are done through technology, we are still way behind in terms of where we need to catch up with the rest of the world. And that is what we've been able to drive from the ECTEL standpoint, to get the speed of internet that you pay for, that you can actually reap the benefits of that. Because sometimes you pay for a certain speed, you're supposed to get a certain amount of megabytes per second, but when you come to the end user, and we are putting new measures in place so that we can hold the providers accountable for the level and the quality of output that people receive. Because for our smart schools to operate effectively, for the link of communication, and I guess later on in the program we'll talk about the e-government part of it, where we have seen Now people in the US, St. Lucians, are applying for their driver's license, doing all of these things because we are modernizing what is happening, not just in education, but in the country in general, in every area. I mean, I know my colleague did not touch it. Even with the fishermen and going out to sea, and the things that they have been given to afford them the opportunity to send a signal that they are in distress. So all of the technology, the advances that we are making is on behalf of the people of St. Lucia, regardless of the level at which they are.
But I want to say, Sabi, there are a lot of things people couldn't see that were missing, okay? And that we had to fix those things first. So the legislative part. So people say you get in and you're supposed to go and do these things right away. But when you go now and start digging deeper, so when we came to fix the forensic lab, do you remember what the problem was? There was an earthquake and it had cracked the building. And so therefore, the evidence was being tainted. And so we had to get a contract to fix that first. So that has to go to bid, you have to get it done, and then once it's done, it then has to be recertified. So that is a great example of many of the different things that we inherited. I mean, I can't thank you enough. Honestly, working through the World Bank. So, you know, I'll give you an example, Sabi. The West Coast Road is going to be funded from a grant fund. And just to make it clear, grant money means it's free money. We don't have to repay it. So the cul-de-sac bridge that's being done was a grant for the Japanese. The money that was given to us from the UK was given to us by David Cameron when he was Prime Minister. We're hoping that this week that the project will begin on the Millennium Highway.
How many years on?
Almost 8 years, right? And when Guy came in, we had, I think it was $67 million US, Guy? Just sitting there that the former government could not access.
They couldn't deliver.
And they couldn't deliver it.
They only have plans when it comes to implementation, very slow implementation. And that's the challenge that faces them. They don't have the ability to deliver. You know?
That is what I think this forum is showing tonight, that we have a leader and a team of men and women who have remained laser-focused in ensuring that they can deliver to the people of St. Lucia. And
I must come in here. Please allow me. As PM mentioned, the forensic lab, I want to bring in, and that's what we say all the time, the people-centered politics, people-centered governance. So whereas PM mentioned what was happening in the building infrastructurally and what the setbacks were, do you know what rehabilitating and resuscitating, reactivating, having a fully functional forensic lab has meant for women who were abused or raped? You know what that has meant for justice in this country?
Absolutely.
But you know what? The forensic lab didn't have a DNA center. So we were spending almost $2 million a year, okay, to outsource the DNA, where you could buy a new piece of equipment for $500,000. And I'm very proud to say that that equipment is there. We are in the process of becoming internationally certified. We'll be the first forensic lab fully certified. And we hope now with what we're doing. But how does it affect people? Over 100 pieces of evidence that had not been analyzed. 100 cases that were waiting. People who are being held in remand. Families who want to know exactly what took place. The case couldn't proceed, couldn't process it. So 93% of that backlog has been cleared. And that's what I'm saying to you. All of the efficiencies of government that were not working, that we focused on, was to bring that. But even going back to the DVRP, the drainage programs, how it's helped in terms of farming, how it's helped in terms of community, Dennery South. I mean, and we're now going into the second phase of that project. My own constituency, the multitude of roads that were eroding because they had never been built drains. And when we talk about building resilience and about people-centric, not only are we building roads, but we're building sidewalks. It's a complete fundamental change from what had existed before.
But
Before you speak on resilience in agriculture, I think it's very, very important that we drive the point home that everything that this team has done over the course of the past 5 years has been geared at ensuring that we can positively impact the lives of the people of this country. So everything that we are speaking about, whether it is the forensic lab, whether it is using the monies through the DVRP, whether it is using technology in education, every single thing that has been done has been geared at ensuring that we are improving the quality of life of our people. And this is the mandate that we had, that this government had when you took on the job to build a new St. Lucia.
Absolutely.
You had to make sure that you are reaching people, that you are changing, and you are improving the quality of life. So let's hear it.
Let me start by saying that, and I've said it before, and not because the Prime Minister is there, I'm saying it in his present. I've said it in Parliament, I've said it anytime I have an opportunity. I worked with the Honourable Prime Minister when he was Minister of Tourism. And he impressed me as a Minister of Tourism who understood and appreciated the linkages between agriculture and tourism. In fact, when we worked as Minister of Tourism and agriculture, we went to all the hotels trying to see how we could, develop a program that would get towards getting the support of that sector. So coming back now as a government, and he as the Honourable Prime Minister, we appreciate the focus is still there. When we speak about resilience in agriculture, I remember that I got a call from the Prime Minister. I was overseas, and PM for about 10 years. And I have to say, I have to classify it, 10 years of good times, because we have the past 5 years experienced 2 tropical storms, a drought, and of course, unfortunately, COVID. Right? So we have had many challenges. Okay? And despite that, the records are showing that we were able to deliver, right? Both in agriculture and all the other sectors. So that's important. So
institutions that were broke.
Well, they talk about marketing board and then fish marketing corporation, and I'm hoping that we'll have time to, because I must say I'm at a disadvantage coming here and so much to speak about. And,
you want your own show?
I want my own show.
Easy for us. Just for easy. Yeah.
But like PM said earlier on, Honourable Guy, because now we started to look at the whole aspect of resilient agriculture, coming out of the experience of Hurricane 2017 tropical storm, the Honourable Prime Minister allocated resources for us to go and do what we call a major desilting exercise in all the valleys. All the valleys, open up all the major waterways. These waterways were clogged for many, many years.
And I think as St. Lucians, we saw the direct benefit of that. So what would happen during heavy rains and driving on the highway, you go to Castries, you would not see the overflow of water that you normally saw across the island.
Canals, so resources were put in there to
in our constituencies before North, right at the Opiko Junction.
Yes.
That was one of the places. As soon as you saw water, you knew, that place would get flooded.
And I remember that telephone call. He said he went around, because I wasn't there. He went around. He said, what I observed, the areas where we have windbreaks, the bananas and the crops are standing.
Yeah.
So coming back, we need to undertake a tree planting exercise, which we did.
Yeah.
We are starting. So we don't only speak of issues, we implement.
That's right. Exactly. Find solutions that will
do it.
Yeah.
Even the new crops of bananas that you guys are getting from the Taiwanese, right, are to be hardier than they were.
Well, they're shorter, they have a stronger root system.
So they're more robust, just like this.
Resilient.
But it's the flooding that was causing the problem. And again, the DVRP program was used significantly to be able to immediately address that.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, what we've been doing is creating a revenue stream. People talk about all this borrowing, right? The borrowing that we're doing is not coming out of the consolidated fund. What we did is we created a new revenue stream. So the gas tax goes into a lockbox. It's about $30 million a year. And we're borrowing the money on that money. So we've been able to borrow in excess of $400 million at concessional terms. The Taiwanese have given us a 20-year loan, 5-year moratorium at under 4% interest rate. But what we can do is save money, because the resilience and the importance of resilience in this conversation, it's like an insurance. Right? We know the hurricanes are coming. We don't even have to get a hurricane anymore. Look at the other day, we just had some rain for a couple of hours. It's just so much rain in a short period of time, and that's what the climate change has been. We have to build the infrastructure to protect people's homes, protect people's farms, and more importantly, businesses, because what you don't want is the disruption when you can't go. Look at the other day on Bodley. That could have been much worse if all of a sudden that gets cut off. I mean, to see the amount of traffic that was backed up both ways at the beginning of that whole thing tells you that this country needs a much bigger and stronger road network. And that's why the North-South Highway is the next major project that we have to create. Getting a new port into cul-de-sac. All of these things ultimately come back to your point, to the people. You know, the other day, last weekend, I went to Soufrière and went to see the new development. You know, new development is a classic where politicians after politician coming into Soufrière always would identify it while they were in opposition. I'm going to fix new development for you. And the people would go, oh, yeah. And then when they get in, the government would say, well, this is private land. Can't fix it. But meanwhile, hundreds of households were being impacted. The roads were so bad. When you go there now, you see the concrete roads, you see now sidewalks. The value of people's land have gone up. Persons who never considered getting a car before now can get a car. Buses are flowing. The development of the mini stadium. The people were talking about the amount of dust that used to come. The flooding in that particular area has been resolved. Re-establishing the Diamond Esperance Road, because now you can get to Fonds-Jacques much quicker. Infrastructure makes a difference in people's lives. That's what this resilience is all about.
And Jim, if I may, as you mentioned housing, what we've done with regularizing the status of squatters, or where there were areas that were unresolved. I know Minister Guy Joseph, you've been doing some work in that area. The people in Alger are happy as well. And in Parle are waiting.
I can say that Parle, we're almost there. Yes. You know, because we have been able. How long did we? Yeah, you know, remember my election here? When we went there, we were campaigning there and made a commitment.
My condolences to Mr. Francis for the loss of his wife.
If I may come in there, since you all touched on the housing, and that's why I said, this is about the leadership that you have in government. A lot of it boils down to what is brought to the table. And if we review these last 5 years in government, despite all the challenges that we have faced, I want to believe, I'm not 100% certain, that we would have made more land available to St. Lucians in this last 5 years than the Labour Party did in the 15 years in government. Throughout the length and breadth of St. Lucia, both on the proud land regularization, private developments, government developments, NHC developments, all of these, it's about empowering the people. This is not about land for us. This is not about land for government ministers. And when we fix the road, so take for example Bele, which is a small community that was removed from since when Roseau Dam was built, and the people were relocated. Their roads were never attended to, despite the fact that they were supporters of the Labour Party. I can tell you, the first election I ran there, I got 33 votes. Ms. Rambali got 99. She beat me 3-1. I still went in there, and we built the roads, and the government has now acquired 44 acres of land there, which is now being developed into housing lots for low-income people. Now,
and how important is that, though? How important it is?
Just permit me to say this. One of the mandates of the Ministry of Housing in this new term coming in is for us to agree on what is a minimum standard house or minimum standard living condition for St. Lucians. And that would be the benchmark. We may not accomplish it in 5 years, in 10 years, but this becomes the benchmark. that nobody in St. Lucia should be forced to live in a standard below that minimum standard. That is what representing the people is all about.
And it's what's ensuring that we are improving the quality of life of our people. That's what it's about.
I want to make a very important point on what Honorable Guy said there. And that's very important, to show the difference between the St. Lucia Labour Party and the United Workers' Party. You hear in Parliament we have a vindictive government. Everything Honorable Guy lost in Bel Air, but he never neglected the people in Bel Air. He went there and he did work in Bel Air. Unlike the St. Lucia Labour Party, what are the track record? I had to finish a project in Miku South, a water project, which Honorable Aston James started for years.
Memory.
For years, they victimized the people in
the water doesn't just go to Flambeau or go to anybody, it goes to everybody.
In the constituency of Mikud's Viewfort South, Larry Schuss, the former Prime Minister's constituency, we didn't stop the project.
I want to come to two water
we
project.
Initiated the project.
The two water project. Denry North.
Denry North.
We had to go and renegotiate with the Development Bank. We never stopped it. Viewfort, we did not stop it. And Viewfort project serves 3 constituencies. Labrie, Viewfort North, and Viewfort South.
How curious is that?
See, the most important thing about this, the people, but not just the people. We know the importance of ensuring that we can have water getting to everybody. For Viewfort South, Minister, the issue that I need to raise is that Viewfort South is not your typical constituency. Viewfort South is a commercial center.
Exactly.
It is a commercial center, and if you are to have any kind of real economic activity happening in that part of the country, your water resource is should be one of your areas of focus.
But I'm just driving home the point that not a vindictive.
Like they skipped the road they were doing.
I agree with you.
You brought up that point that's very important. It's something that Gail and myself in particular, and Bradley, and our other candidates in the South have done. Our 2 constituencies in the heyday made their money from bananas. So in fact, Labrie and Choiseul and the 2 Mikus were propping up the economic activity in Viewfort.
Exactly.
Okay? So it was the earnings that they had from bananas. They were going to the stores and everything else in Viewfort. What has happened? We're going to restore bananas, but it's fair to say that bananas are not going to get back to what they were in the 70s days. Okay? It's just not possible. So to your point, and that's the most important word here, potential. Labour Party, first of all, we know never had a plan. Okay? More importantly, they couldn't have a plan because they don't understand the potential of St. Lucia. They keep on wanting to make it better. Right? So they think that they can just move the needle a little bit, everybody's going to be satisfied with that. Not knowing that people want more. So the plans that we're executing in Viewfort, the international airport, is going to generate more jobs. The cruise ship port. Kenny should have done the cruise ship port since 1997. You can't be going today to talk about bus drivers and taxi drivers. The only business a taxi driver had in the South was to do what? Carry a tourist to go up north. And every year, their privilege was being diluted because they were allowing more people to get into the membership of Southern Taxi Association. Right? If you had a cruise ship there, the South's development would be much further. But he didn't have the foresight for that. And I want to say to you, not only that I believe that we have the vision for that, but every day we are driven because we're reminded of how important this is going to be in improving the quality of life of people, to give them their own job, to create business opportunities for them. All the tours that you have in Ancillary, in Canneries, and in Babonneau, now you can start seeing the same kind of development taking place in our South.
Okay, so we have to wrap up now.
We want the people of St. Lucia to remember, when the roads, imagine, roads were being repaired. Mikud North and South was skipped from Praley Bridge to the Canals Bridge.
Yes.
The Labour Party skipped this area of roads as if people, when they reach canals, they could fly over and land somewhere in the din. That is the nature of the Labour Party. This government is about developing St. Lucia for St. Lucians.
For every single St. Lucian. So we are due for another commercial break. I think the discussion and the, people don't want to stop talking, but we have to go to break now. We'll give guys own show. When we come back, we continue the discussion. Thank you for staying with the Flambeau Forum. We'll be right back.
We've been requiring a little assistance in the cleaning of the area, and Mr. Bertram came through for us. We call it cleanup campaign, and we like to actually continue that little process and thank him for contributing in the little committee for the little workers and everybody around the area. But we thank you for coming through for that little cleanup campaign, and we wish we could continue that process.
What we are engaged with this morning is that a group of us have decided to come together to do some cleanup in the Masad area. And this is all in an effort to keep our environment clean and to ensure that, the place aesthetically looks beautiful, is kept clean. And at the same time, we are hoping that people will see our efforts and begin to develop more of a consciousness about keeping their environment clean. Let us not forget, when we dispose of our garbage indiscriminately, you clog drains. Also, it pollutes our ocean because much of the debris, much of the garbage ends up in the sea. And so generally speaking, I think it's in our best interest to have our community, our environment as pristine as possible.
What separates us is our ability to recognize your needs and to work towards addressing them. Providing opportunities, dreaming big, and delivering bigger. What separates us is passionate representation, meticulous guarding of our social and economic indicators, and working with and for you during the most trying time in recorded history. What separates us is a cabinet guided by God for the protection, progress, and prosperity of our St. Lucia. The United Workers' Party. Let's keep working.
My MP said that we would have a new wellness center. Here we are. It's almost finished.
My community said we needed a new wing to our secondary school. And my MP said yes.
My sister said she needed help to find a job, so my MP created a job fair.
Our athlete said we needed better sporting facilities.
A new early childhood development center.
My neighbors said.
My sister said.
The children said.
Community said.
Roads and a new park. And my MP said.
Yes.
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 Of course.
Nous tous, c'est yon famille en Micoud-Nord. Et nous continuons pour faire progrès avec Antigale.
Welcome back, Mamai Flambeau. We for our Flambeau Forum. We're here now for the final segment, and during this time, we are moving to phase 2 of building a new St. Lucia. What does it mean? Where are we as a United Workers' Party willing and ready to take you as we move into phase 2 of building a new St. Lucia. So I'm going to ask my panelists where it is that you intend to take us as we get ready to move into phase 2 to build a new St. Lucia. Auntie Gail.
Yes. Thank you very much, Sabi, for the opportunity. Please indulge me. Today is Miss Lesmora's birthday. And I got a video of her dancing. I just want to wish her a happy birthday. I mean, you could not ask for a better birthday than a birthday on the 6th of June. So happy birthday. I know they're all partying and having a good time. But our senior citizens mean a lot to us. And that is why you notice we made the adjustments in the health care, as PM indicated, that many would fear going to the hospital because of their racking debts. And of course, going to the doctor. And what we are doing is to focus on primary health care to ensure that we break that nexus. The same spirit of education, which is to break the nexus between one's socioeconomic circumstance and the ability to access a service in education or in health. We have to ensure that there is equity. Regardless of your economic circumstance, health and education we perceive as rights. Yes. And therefore, I want to remind St. Lucians that when you voted for us 5 years ago, you did so because you trusted us. And now more than ever, you have even more reason to trust us because we have delivered. We have delivered to the young men and women of this country, not only by increasing the number of scholarships and opportunities available for learning, but very importantly, that many of these opportunities we have now made available at their fingertips for relatively nothing or free. And I want to encourage them, therefore, to check out the SKY program with NELU, check out what we're doing with Springboard, the Coursera program, all these courses heavily subsidized, that we are creating pathways for children who desire a path outside of your traditional professional mold, as we have done in the Sports Academy. And I know Minister Ezekiel Joseph will say, and when we come back in, we need to have a specialized academy for agriculture. It's in the forefront, Minister. Yes, I take in front. Yes. and similarly, Prime Minister, we are continuing on the path of ensuring that the Asia Secondary School becomes your TVET hub, as we have started. Yes, at the high school level. And then we are working with the TVET Council to ensure that we provide more opportunities with our national vocational qualifications and our Caribbean vocational qualifications, which are portable, which means they are recognized not only here, but overseas as well. With this, I must go back to sports, because what we have done with the sporting facilities, that's the first step, Prime Minister. I want to echo your sentiments that not only must we address the facilities, but building capacity among our clubs, the club structure, that youth and sports council, that we embellish their capacity, that they can hold their own, they can do more programming.
And that the parents are volunteering. You know, it can't be when I was a national team that I had to go and raise money for airline tickets, go and raise money for, and that's what goes on in all the sporting. This has to stop. You know, the Aquatic Center has shown us the importance of clubs, but parents' participation, so you're 100% right.
And single mothers. Single mothers. Much of what we have done in education and in partnership with equity, we have focused on single mothers. And that is why the Human Capital Resilience Project, which is in the tune of about $20 million, the component that deals with building capacity, makes accommodation for single mothers to allow for caring for their children as an incentive to allow them to pursue a course of their interest. And that is something when my team visited, thank you for the opportunity, PM, when my team visited Washington, D.C. about 2.5 years ago, we factored that into the program to ensure that we make provision, not just for women, but single mothers, and very importantly, for people who are differently abled as well. So you'll see much of that coming into full fruition in our next term, as soon as the people of St. Lucia endorse us to continue to build on what we've started.
And what this is showing us, Auntie Gail, is that when faced with a challenge, or when faced with how are we going to improve the lives of St. Lucians, this team of workers does not focus only on, okay, we'll do 1, 2, 3 things and that's enough. You're looking for real solutions. So this
And this concept of ensuring that there is care for children so that single mothers can pursue a course of study, this is a real incentive, because this is a challenge for single mothers. Where am I going to leave my child if I have to do this? And so we're looking at the problems. How do we ensure that people have access, but how do we also ensure that they take on those opportunities and improve their lives in the process?
And that's why we built some new child care centers as well, which are heavily subsidized by government in Morshin, village of Miku, so that again parents are not jackman. Absolutely, because these parents now have the option of taking their children to a daycare, to a safe space where they can be cared for, and of course their fundamental education or foundational education. These are catered for as well, the child and the education, and that they can now seek employment, whether it is with what we're doing in the South, with ITPO, with ODO Labs, with what we're doing in partnership with Monroe College in the South. I'm in the South, and we promised that when we held the swearing-in ceremony there. And the South is the new focus, and we've proven that we are proving that.
So if I were to interject, phase 2 of building a new St. Lucia, we are all anticipating the other call centers that are going to come in the South, because this is real money that is being injected into the Southern economy, money that was not there before, money that we had to figure out how we're going to get things done. But right now, we have young people on a daily, weekly, monthly basis who have money in their pockets, who are now able to face the banks for loans, who can buy land, who can think about going to school, things that they would never have thought of.
Permanent jobs.
Because these jobs are real jobs, these are permanent jobs, and these are jobs that our children feel proud to hold.
But also notice, Sabby, is many of those kids would have had to have migrated up north.
Yeah.
So either they would have had to rent a place rather than being able to live at home. Yeah. The chores that they would have done at home, now that the opportunity would have been lost. So this is really a win-win situation for everybody. And again, ching, ching, ching in everybody's pockets, right? So we are creating the opportunity for people to change their lives.
But I mean, you and I have had the opportunity to represent St. Lucia in different areas. Honorable Grace spoke about what we are doing in sport. But what Grace spoke about was a plan. Because to get to the academy, you must have programs at the root. Correct. And I'm sure the Minister of Sports will be given an opportunity, and this forum to articulate. He's saying the improvement of infrastructure, right? In the respective communities. Not only infrastructure, but they must have programs. And I have heard the minister speaking a lot about programs. Because I can speak to Babu, we have all infrastructure, but without the programs, it's meaningless.
So what they're going to do is you had a lottery, right? So the lottery is supposed to regulate the lottery, but they have not been doing a good job. And what's been happening is because we don't have an institution to implement those programs, we're doing it through the ministry and through the different national associations, which has not been working well. So the goal is to merge the lottery into the gaming authority. So we have one entity that's going to regulate, and then the money is now going to be transferred into a new entity called a Youth in Sports. And that entity will not be able to use the lottery money for capital projects. Can't build sporting facilities. Guy indicated we're funding those projects now under our CDP program. So we did 6 facilities this year, this term. Next term we're going to do another 6. And we're going to keep building out until we have all the facilities, the swimming pools in the South and the sporting facilities. So we're very anxious about what we're doing and to Ezekiel's point, how we're doing it.
Okay, so Prime Minister will cut it a little short right here. We're going for another break. When we return, we are going to continue and take you to the end of our Flambeau Forum. Thank you so much for staying with us. We'll be right back.
What we are engaged with this morning is that a group of us have decided to come together to do some cleanup in the Masad area. And this is all in an effort to keep our environment clean and to ensure that You know, the place aesthetically looks beautiful, is kept clean, and at the same time we are hoping that people will see our efforts and begin to develop more of a consciousness about keeping their environment clean. Let us not forget, when we dispose of our garbage indiscriminately, you clog drains. Also, it pollutes our ocean because much of the debris, much of the garbage ends up in the sea. And so generally speaking, I think it's in our best interest to have our community, our environment kept as pristine as possible.
We've been requiring a little assistance in the cleaning of the area, and Mr. Bertram came through for us. We call it cleanup campaign, and we like to actually continue that little process and thank him for contributing in the little community for the little workers and everybody around the area. But we thank you for coming through for that little cleanup campaign, and we wish we could continue that process.
What separates us is our ability to recognize your needs and to work towards addressing them. Providing opportunities, dreaming big, and delivering bigger. What separates us is passionate representation, meticulous guarding of our social and economic indicators, and working with and for you during the most trying time in recorded history. What separates us is a cabinet guided by God for the protection, progress, and prosperity of our St. Lucia. The United Workers' Party. Let's keep working.
Back, Mamai Flambeau. We are now in the final leg of our Flambeau Forum, and we are continuing right along with phase 2 of building a new St. Lucia. So, Guy, what is it that we can expect from you and from your ministry in this phase 2?
What I want to highlight first of all is that we've done all the preparation work. We've established, we've cleared a lot of the challenges that we had. And I must say to St. Lucians, COVID came as a real test because we were doing well prior to COVID. Yeah. COVID came and tested the resilience, the fortitude, the strength and ability of this government. And despite all of these challenges, under the able leadership of the Prime Minister, we've been able to rise above these challenges and to have allowed the economy to remain sustainable. We are not where we used to be. We did not accomplish everything we wanted because COVID gave us a blow. But we said COVID is a bump in the road. And in moving forward, one of the areas of focus will be in the area of housing, because we believe there's a direct correlation between people's way of thinking and the standard of living that they enjoy. Your living conditions, if you improve people's housing conditions, it gives them a new outlook of life. And so in building moving forward, while we would continue to grow the economy, do the things that would benefit every sector. And we've had a lot of discussion about youth economy. I want to tell people, go and study economics, and you would see that an economy is supposed to work for somebody from before they are conceived to when they die, without any particular focus it to say you are going to make this economy a youth economy. You have to make the economy of St. Lucia resilient. And that is what we have been doing. If you go back to our manifesto of 2016, you would see we said specifically on page 11, the UWP intends to achieve an accumulated economic growth rate of at least 12% in the first year. Now, after the COVID and everything that has prior to COVID, we were at 9.7%, taking into consideration the numbers that was given for 2019-2020, which means that we were just about 2.3% below our target. The second target area for us was to reduce overall level of unemployment to no more than 15%. Now think of this, St. Lucia. This is a commitment given by a government while in opposition, years before we assumed the reins of government. And we reached that close. And I can tell you, had it not been for COVID, we would have surpassed the benchmarks that we gave ourselves. If there's anything you can hold us accountable to, is that we're delivering on what we promised. And so, in moving forward, in building a new St. Lucia, we have now established the foundation.
In every sector, health, education, housing, agriculture, sports, we have examples that people can go and see to know where we're going. So if they go to Lag, or if they go to Tavern, if they come to your constituency, Forestier, if they're going to come to Agen, what we're going to be doing in Volette, right? There are examples that are there to show the people of St. Lucia to what standard I believe that you're talking about.
And that is why our focus in building a new St. Lucia would be, we want people to leave their communities and reside other places by choice, not because opportunities are not available or because housing is not available. And if you take the Micoud area, Micoud North, you look at Dennery and Boisjoli and all of the lands that are available up there. You look at between Anslary and Canaries, the amount of land that can be developed. What is in Soufrière and Choiseul has seen a boost in housing lots being available. So what we are looking, well, I don't even want to talk about Babono and the Talvan project. I leave that to my colleague minister. But we are going to drive the housing sector in a way that St. Lucians have never seen and would not even think possible. Because think of it, every project we inherited was a mess left by the Labour Party. We've been able to overcome that, and as we speak, there are close to 2,000 housing lots being available today. Can you imagine, now that we can build up on what is there? So the infrastructure is there. We are putting the road network for every area that we are developing. We have the foundation. Allow us to continue building on what we have started. And every young person in St. Lucia, every adult person will have the opportunity to be part of the development program of this United Workers' Party government under the leadership of Prime Minister Chastanet.
Easy does it for us. Let's see how.
Yes. I must say that there is need for us to reflect on what happened, what transpired, unfortunately, in 2011. The plan we had as a government was set between 2011 and 2016. When we came back in, we had to start all over as far as implementing some of the plans that started. In fact, one of the guys spoke to it. He said that we in that term, we were able to come over the major hurdles that we faced. And let me give you an example of the hurdles. The Talvan lands. And you hear about French family and foreigners. The Taliban man, the government of the St. Lucia Labour Party, went into an agreement with a foreign company 2 days before general elections in 2011, as far as an MOU is concerned. And if you saw the terms and conditions as far as this MOU, but time will not permit me to discuss it. But I can say...
You're getting your own show, so don't worry.
Sure.
Your own forum.
But I want to express my appreciation to Honorable Guy Joseph, the former chair, Mr. Mandal, and of course the present chairman, Mr. Baptist, for us to be able to get out of that agreement. But I'm sure the Taliban people will understand and appreciate what we are doing. And I want to announce that based on discussion with Honorable Guy Joseph.
No, he's in the Ministry of Finance.
There's a strong possibility that we will reduce the price from $6 and $7 to a figure that we're speaking of. But there is a strong possibility.
Yeah.
But as far as moving forward in the Ministry of Agriculture, the Prime Minister spoke about the NFTU. We need to restructure the NFTU. We need to look at some concessions. Concessions for our farmers. To make it much more easier for our farmers. Concessions. We will have to be parallels, and I want to say
yes, please. Gail Regabas.
That the parallels are almost there. The CBA has submitted the information, and we are going to very soon see how we can start sending us. So it's important. It's important for us to continue. That's important.
It is.
It's important for us to continue doing what we are doing. Any change in right now under this COVID situation is going to be chaotic for St. Lucia.
Okay, so we are getting the sense that for the 5 years, in spite of all of the challenges that this team of workers was faced with, in spite of every single one of them, we have risen to the occasion. The reason we have continued to remain focused is because we want to ensure that we continue to improve the quality of life of our people, and that is what we are focusing on. So in spite of COVID, in spite of, tropical storms, whatever comes, the team remains focused. So I will give our political leader the opportunity to just quickly wrap up the forum. Before I do that, I'm going to thank, because I want to make sure I have time to thank everyone for the lively discussion, for being a part of this forum, and I will let political leader wrap up. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sabi. We've said a lot tonight. We have started the journey of building a new St. Lucia. As a group, we've never made any excuses. And we have remained laser focused. And every single obstacle, we're not the ones to go out and complain about them, but to overcome them. I want to say in the area of healthcare, Gail touched on it, the continued improvement of the primary healthcare services. In 14, we have another 14 to go. Financial services, we're now off the gray list and the black list of the Europeans. There's some simple amendments that we have to make that's now allowing us to look at regaining our position and growing far faster. CIP program is doing extremely well. And now building a resource fund in the economic fund, which now will be a huge asset. And we want that to be in part an equity fund to help small businesses. They cannot afford to borrow the money. There has to be an equity portion that goes in and helps them to be able to do that. We're also talking about the Forte program, which is we're looking to train 500 people who have never been employed and facilitate them with training to be able to get employed. Local government, strengthening of local government. And the big one really is taxes. This government came in on a promise of reducing the VAT rate. We did that. Unfortunately, because of e-government, which we've not been able to speak about tonight, we've been waiting for that now to be able to reduce our personal income taxes, increase the threshold, and reduce the tax rate. The corporate tax rate to bring that down. And we want to continue to amend the VAT rate with the idea of it becoming eventually, with the support of the World Bank and the IMF, because those discussions are continuing, to be able to eliminate it, to be now have a service charge, a sales tax, sorry, instead of that. So we have a significant amount of more work to do, but as Minister Guy Joseph said, the foundation has been laid. Let us keep working.
Let's keep working. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. To all our viewers, we're wishing everyone a good evening. Let's keep working.
We've got this.
Horn 7 TV is the rising star of television in St. Lucia with our stunning 100% HD quality, fresh exciting programming, including a balanced professional newscast. We are now the fastest growing TV